Hello, friends. I'm just waiting on Chiara to jump on, and we are going to be doing Taking the Leap. So I'm super excited to be speaking with Chiara Shannon today. So we're just going to wait a few seconds until she gets on, and then we will be starting. I hope that wherever you are today, it's a beautiful day, and let's see if we can bring her on up.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Chiara. How are
I'm
you?
good. It's good to see you.
It looks like our backgrounds are similar. Look at this.
Yes,
They have the
very
same
color, very
colors. I
colorful
know.
today.
It almost looks like the same artist. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I'm here in Los Angeles and it's just sunny and warm, and I was feeling like
Uh,
a very colorful background today.
so
So,
was I, but it's not it's actually pretty warm for Boston. Not sunny, but it's almost 60, which is crazy for the middle of February in Boston, you know?
yeah, that does seem crazy.
Yeah, it is. But then all the snow is melted. It's like so fantastic. So let's just give it like another half a minute and we'll see if our friends are jumping on, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. But for folks who don't know what Taking the Leap is, and this could be your first time, Taking the Leap is a new series that I started, and it's really to have conversations with women who have created their dream business and really created their dream life, and they've done it when they've been at least 40 years old or older. And so the conversations have been amazing, and I'm so excited to have Chiara here today. And, you know, I was thinking back on when we met, and we met almost 2 years ago. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years, that's for sure.
It's true. I think we met before COVID or just about COVID, because I know that uh, the conference that I work on annually was thinking about having you come, which now it's 2 years later, and you're finally going to get to come to Boston, which I'm super excited about. But that's when I met you, and a mutual friend introduced us. So I'm so happy. I mean, it's been just so great getting to know you, and I'm really excited to have you on Taking the Leap this afternoon. So let's get rolling. And I kind
Happy
of
to.
want to share a little bit about what you had been doing before we roll into where you are today, because definitely a little bit different. So what have you been doing?
Well, I have worked in the wine business for many years, over 15 years, mostly in the retail side of the wine business. So I worked for a well-known company called K&L Wine Merchants, based in California. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I was with them for 7 years. And then I moved to Los Angeles, where I'm originally from. About, let's see, it was 2014, so 8 years ago, gosh, it's like
I know
so
it
long
just keeps
ago.
flying by,
So
you know,
eight,
it's kind of
eight-ish
like,
years ago, and
right.
I guess almost 8 years. And so I, since then, was running a wine shop here in Los Angeles called Mission Wine. So most of my work in my career in the wine business has been selling wine in the retail side. But I've always had an interest and a passion for yoga and wellness, and also, travel and the arts. I love fashion and
Yeah.
I love entertainment, and I just have so many interests. And so when it came time, last year I felt, the pandemic really shifted a lot for everybody, and also really dramatically changed the landscape of the wine industry. And I thought it was a good time for me to leave the retail side of the business and really give more oxygen to all of these other passion projects that I've cultivated on the side, whether I've done yoga and wine events. I have my Champagne Friday live that I started during the pandemic that I
Which
love.
is amazing. If you haven't seen Champagne Friday, you got to grab a glass of champagne and enjoy Chiara's program. But yes,
Yeah, and it's just been really, I totally understand the fear. I also was very, when you have a very kind of stable job where everything is really predictable and you've worked so many years and you just sort of know what each day is going to look like, it can be hard to leave that comfort. But I think, for me, I've been really amazed by all the new opportunities that have just blossomed even in the time that I've begun to take the leap, so to speak. And so I'm really happy to be here and talk more about that, because it's
So
definitely
the inspiration has really been the timing, number one,
yeah.
partially induced by the pandemic. And also I think probably, knowing you a bit, this point in your career and the desire to just kind of merge and mesh all those passions that you do have together. So what have been the keys though to your transition? Because, going from retail and sort of taking that leap and doing something different, what's helped you move forward to take that leap?
Well, I definitely think the pandemic, for just like with many of us, was a great kind of shapeshifter. I think the pandemic really accelerated a lot of things that were already trends. We see
Uh-huh.
that play out in a macro way, and it also happened for me in a micro way. I mean, I had been aiming and sort of I had this long-term goal of eventually having my own business and doing my own thing. But like I was saying before, when you're in a job and your life is sort of constructed in a certain way, it can be really hard to break that mold. And so
Mm-hmm.
certainly when the pandemic came, it forced, I went remote and all these things changed. And so it opened up sort of new ways of thinking and new ways of working that I was able to, really experience and see, oh, I can do this. I can work
Mm-hmm.
this way. And so it's certainly, so having that external factor certainly helped accelerate the change for me. But
Mm-hmm.
other things as well, I think most recently in the last couple of years, participating in a lot of self-awareness and self-growth type experiences, including the mastermind that I'm very grateful to do with you. But
Mm-hmm.
also I've gotten involved in other sort of women in business organizations and taken all these different like assessments. Like yoga is really great for self-awareness in some ways, but there are so
Mm-hmm.
many other modalities out there that can really help you get, broaden your perspective and gain a much deeper understanding of your strengths and your weaknesses and areas for growth and all these things that I really think should be taught in
Mm-hmm.
college but are not. And I think
Absolutely.
and certainly it's been really really helpful for me to to be exposed to this work and do these assessments and go deeper. And frankly, I never knew that some of my I think, part of the reason why I was so comfortable in a very safe and predictable job like retail is because for so long I never really knew that some of my strengths could actually be applied in like a professional leadership type environment. I'm social and I love connecting with people and I really kind of thrive off of that. But I've always kind of nurtured and cultivate those skills in like my personal life, but
Uh-huh.
not so much in my profession because I just really didn't know that that was even like considered a leadership ability, so it's really been very eye-opening and helpful. And I think, for me, in terms of gaining the confidence to step out of that comfort zone and really,
So really creating that self-awareness
yeah,
using these tools. I mean, because basically assessments are tools and they give you information and they provide data. And then when you can take that data and that sort of scientific data, and you really can, add it to your own gut feeling and your intuition and your dreams, because clearly you had bigger dreams to do different things. Now you've got sort of a plan started, right?
right, yeah, and I think, like I said, I think I'm really surprised that these uh, assessments and these ways of applying them isn't taught earlier in life, and maybe it is taught now, I don't know, but when I was certainly going through college and stuff, these were not things that we were taught.
They're still not. And there are still many leaders and many adults who have never really, gone the next step to have that self-awareness and really understand their strengths. So I agree with you 100%. It really helps drive how you start to think. It's not the end all be all, and not every assessment is, 100% accurate, but it certainly gives you a great baseline to start, and a place to start to really think about, oh, wow, I am really good at this, or, this, makes sense to me. And certainly it gives you, things that may not have clicked together and connected the dots suddenly are connected just by, going that route of taking the assessments and gaining that self-awareness. So that's definitely a great tool to use as you're trying to take the leap, for sure. Yeah. So tell us where you are now, because I am lucky to know where you are and what you're doing, but I think sharing that story with everyone is great.
Yeah, so I have officially launched my consulting business. It's called Mindful Wine. And I have a website, and I have integrated all of my different wine-related work with my wellness background. I'm a 500-hour level certified yoga professional, and I've studied mindfulness with the John Kabat-Zinn Institute for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction in Massachusetts. And anyways, I really love kind of integrating these sort of ancient modalities in the context of learning about and appreciating wine. And I also am a certified sommelier, and so I have services related to that, and it's just all under one umbrella. So
that's amazing. So can you give us an example of sort of what does mindful wine tasting actually mean?
Yeah, so that's one of the things, that's my, I guess, differentiator, which is I've created, it actually came out of my yoga teacher training experience. Mm-hmm. But I was doing yoga teacher training, and also at the time studying for my sommelier exams. And I had kind of an epiphany moment where I realized that mastery of wine tasting, or really that those moments when you're connecting with your experience of what you're seeing and smelling and tasting, and really kind of in that flow state, tasting wine, actually really depended on your ability to focus and pay attention, which is a mindfulness practice. And I saw that the more I could tap into those modalities of mindfulness and breath control and utilizing all of those teachings, the better I was at doing my job, and the better I performed in those exams and all of that stuff. So that was really like a light bulb that went off, and I came to think that wouldn't this be, or could this be one way to teach about wine that could potentially be more rewarding or more interesting or more relevant for people, as it kind of came about to be for me, simply because, how just memorizing stuff and doing well on exams doesn't really make you deepen your appreciation or connect you more deeply with something. So I just really came to think that there was something more there. And so that
and there is, definitely.
There is. And so that led me down this path.
You are correct.
It led me down this path of creating a class, or I guess an approach to tasting wine and teaching about wine that's very much informed by yoga and mindfulness, and these sort of deeper ways of engaging and connecting. And so that's what mindful wine tasting is.
Right. Well, it's really interesting because when you pick up a glass of wine, you're not always thinking, you're like, you walk in the house, you've had a long day, and you're like, oh, I'm going to just pour myself a glass of wine and sit back and just, have it. But you're not, I don't know that you're enjoying the wine. You're just sort of drinking it down. You're not really thinking about the process. You're not thinking about how am I doing it, and am I savoring the taste of it, and or am I just sort of gulping it down, Right. And I think sometimes when you go out for a big fancy dinner or whatever, and you start to pair and you start to have a sommelier telling you about the different wines, I think you put a little bit more thought into it. But at home, I know that I just go to the fridge or to the counter where the bottles are lined up, and I'm like, okay, I'll just have this glass of wine, and it is so much tastier. It's so much. It has a bigger impact when you
Yep.
actually stop and think about what you're doing, and how does it taste, and why am I doing this, and when you take your time.
Yeah.
They joke about when you eat food, like people that just sort of whip it down, they don't have the same appreciation for that dinner and that food and that taste. But when they sit back and they taste it and they take each bite slowly, there's so much more to be had for, that experience. And it really is all about the experience, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what in my mindful wine tasting classes, we really just take it back to the present, the level of the present moment. And, starting with doing some breathing exercises to get us into a relaxed state, and then approaching the wine, first just appreciating the color, and
Mm-hmm.
then, taking in the aromas, and letting the taste sort of sit on your palate and unpacking that experience. And you're absolutely right. There is so much more engagement when you can approach something in a
Yeah.
mindful way. And actually, it's funny because I frequently hear people talk about how it's hard to find time to meditate, or it's hard to find time to practice mindfulness, or that people lead busy lives and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to kind of find time to have a mindfulness or meditation practice. And what I like to say is, like, turn it on its head and make your first glass of wine of the day your mindfulness practice, because it
Wow.
is. I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh has or had, passed away recently, but
Mm-hmm.
a practice of mindfulness that involved the slow eating of a raisin. And it's taught in many classes, and
Mm-hmm.
really the exact same. You look at the raisin, and then touch the raisin, and you slowly go, it takes you 30 minutes to experience this
Take the
raisin.
raisin.
And the experience of it is not just an experience of how you experience the world, because really our senses are the portal through which we experience the world,
Uh-huh.
but also how that experience opens up your connection to it, like ripples outward, where you then now become connected to the people who farm, to the sun that ripened the raisin, the people who grew the grapes, and you know
You start to really
art of,
extend the whole
exactly,
connection of
exactly.
where it's made and where it comes from.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I happen to know about Carrie is that she's really an expert on sustainability and how that is affecting the wine industry. And for sure, that's kind of the future. I mean, at least it seems to be the future for the wine industry and for so many food, for being able to grow your own and to be able to have healthier food and healthier wine for that matter.
It's a big topic. It's a huge topic in the wine, I mean, globally, but especially in the wine industry right now. Sustainability and climate issues are number one
Mm-hmm.
topics. And I mean, frankly, if we don't have an environment suitable to grow grapes to make wine, we don't have wine. And so people in the wine business, it's a self-preservation concern for sure, because
Yeah.
no ability to make wine, no industry. But also in terms of, because wine is an agricultural product, it really is at the intersection of nature and culture, right? So it's very important that the wine industry take this seriously, and the impact that they have matters. And so it's huge, and it's actually been really the steps that people are taking to be more sustainable, and to lower carbon footprint, and to consider matters such as packaging and like all these different things that what weren't really discussed before. It's
Mm-hmm.
all happening right now, and it's very exciting to be a part of that conversation, and,
And
and also educate people, because I think that's what the missing link is with
right.
the average consumer. Regular drinkers is not something that they always know. The information still really isn't out there for people. So being an educator on that side too is something that I like to
So
do.
really, when I look at, what your career is, it's not just recommending wine. It's not just, you think of a sommelier, well, you think, oh, that's somebody who's just going to tell me what's the best wine to buy. But that's so not who you are. And that's so not where you're taking, you're really creating a unique place in that industry.
Yeah, I've always found, I mean no disrespect to sommeliers, but it's like just recommend, and just for myself too. There's so many wines out there. Just recommending a great wine is it's such a superficial satisfaction. I mean, what else? Why does that matter? Why should I make this choice over that choice?
Hmm.
For me, there has to be some substance behind it. Just some. There are so many wines that taste the same. There are so many great wines out there. What are the metrics or the values that we use to make choices? How can we make choices?
Hmm.
And so for me, it's really been not just about does the wine taste good. I mean, that's such a, to me, almost irrelevant. There's so much more behind it. What is the impact? What is the story? Who are the people? How can I connect to this product on a deeper level? How can I feel empowered that this choice that I make is actually having a positive impact beyond just me? I think, today really the shift in thinking is from a me mindset to a connected mindset. and
Right.
and I think that really, every time we make a wine decision, we are having an impact, whether we are aware of it or not. And it may not be in alignment with our values. And I think people are waking up to that with other stuff in their lives. And certainly wine is part of that. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
so
that's
it's
also how
recommending,
you're,
it's recommending wines that you're going to like, but also that
right.
matter to you, and that there's something beyond just the label or just the taste that you can connect to.
And I think that's what's so special about the business that you're creating, because you are looking at it from what is the value that you can bring to somebody, but it's also how do you take your passions and how do you make your career meaningful for yourself, and then you're bringing that same meaningfulness to other people and that impact with the way you're designing this business. And I think that's what's so unique. And I do think as people start to think about the changes that they want to make in their career and in their life, knowing that it has to have meaning for you, knowing that it's really driven by your purpose, right? I mean, it's driven by a much bigger purpose than just, okay, let's, learn about the wine. It's more about, it's about the land, it's about the people, it's about the impact it's having on society, on the economy, on the culture, on so many different aspects, and the environment in a much bigger way than just, this is a job. This is not. This is about your purpose, your why, what you're bringing to the table and sharing it with other people. And I think that's what makes it incredibly special, incredibly powerful, and unique in many ways, because I think not everybody thinks that way, as they're looking at what they want to do and what's the impact. And I think starting in that place, and goes back to the self-awareness, in terms of what matters to you and what do you love, and what's important to you and what's meaningful. But when you start with that, it's a different, you roll it out differently, I think, in terms of what you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think as we live in an increasingly like hyper-connected world with infinite choices, having a set of values, having guideposts for us to make decisions, and also getting the information that we need to make those decisions is going to become increasingly at the crux of everything. It seems like it's so, our mutual friend Darius is an expert on this, but
Mm-hmm.
concept of core values, I think, is incredibly important. And actually it kind of circles back to, I first encountered this concept in yoga, because yoga actually, the philosophy of yoga and sort of the principles behind it is a core value system.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set of how to be to yourself, how to be to each other, how to interact, how to move and breathe, and and so there is this
Mm-hmm.
very sort of
There's a
helpful,
connection.
yeah,
I mean,
core value system that underlies yoga. But also
mm-hmm.
those principles can be applied to making decisions about the food that we eat, and the media that we consume, and the wines that we drink, and the people that we hang out with, and how we, all these different things. And I think that's really the answer. And we are so tempted to want everything to be black and white, but the world is not organized that way.
Right.
And we have to have ways of making conscious and informed decisions that are in alignment with our values, because we may not always have, there is no like right answer a lot of the
Because you
time.
have to keep looking to that as your North Star, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there has to be something that's anchoring you that you have to be able to say, wait, does this make sense for me? Does this make sense for others? Does this, is this viable? And does it fit with my values? And
Right.
I think that is a huge point as you're starting to think about making transitions, So,
Mm-hmm.
does it fit with my life? And does it fit with my family? And does it fit with, what I want my life to look like and what I think is important?
Yeah.
So if there were two things or one or two things that people, had told you before you started down this path, and I know you're also getting, I think, a master's degree in this right now, but are there things that would have helped you as you started down this path to make the transition from what was really a company job to really your own creation, which is amazing.
Yeah, I certainly would recommend getting involved in a women's group, whether it's a master or getting involved in some, for me, I think if I had joined like a support group for women in careers earlier on
Mm-hmm.
in my career, where you're just being held accountable, learning from each other, and also expanding your network. I think doing something like that, if I had done that earlier in my career, I think I probably would have had my mind expanded about my options a lot earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
and had mentors and so many benefits that I'm enjoying now, but I kind of think I probably should have gotten 10 years ago. But then, so that's definitely one I would recommend, is finding
Mm-hmm.
a community or finding a mentor, or a community of mentors, even better.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, really, I can't emphasize how helpful doing all of these assessments has been for me. There are so many out there, personality assessments, teamwork assessments. There's just a ton.
Mm-hmm.
The Myers-Briggs Clifton Strengths one I really benefited from. Also, there's like the PDA personality assessment that's really helpful. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many, and I just think doing them all, doing as many as you can, and just doing anything that you can to gain insight in yourself, can only help. And I really didn't get started. I guess you could think of a yoga practice as a way to gain self-awareness and insight, and I've always
Mm-hmm.
had that, but it's not always easy to translate that into like a professional context. And so I really think that these other assessments have been such valuable experiences, so that I would recommend buying the books, finding this quiz online, doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been so helpful.
So, I do think that everything happens in the right time, though. So, I think we can all look back and say, oh, I wish I had started earlier, or I wish, but I'm not so sure that, if you had done that 10 years ago, you would be where you are today, right? I think that everything leads to a certain point, and we find ourselves at that point, and, kind of there's like no time like the present. And, at the end of the day, it might been something completely different had you done it 10 years ago. And all the experiences you've gained over the last 10 years has led you to the right time, which is now. And the ability to see that bigger picture, and how do you bring all those passions that you have together. So, I'm a firm believer in, first of all, you can't look back, you can only look forward. And so the fact that you've been able to look forward and do this and take this leap now is really admirable and exciting. I think it's truly exciting, and I can't wait to watch where the journey goes and continues to go. And I think if people want to, watch you, or are you going to continue with Champagne Fridays, or?
Yeah, I'll start Champagne Friday back up in the spring. I like to do it in the spring and the fall, and then take the
Uh-huh.
summer and the winter off. But yeah, I'll start that back up. I have, like I mentioned, my website, mindfulwine.co,
Yep.
where I have a list of other offerings that I do. But I have mindful wine tasting as something that I can do online. I have some winery partnerships that make it easy for people to get the wine shipped to them, and then we all meet on Zoom, and it's really fun. And I have some in-person events scheduled coming up for spring and summer, including winery visits, which I'm very excited about.
Whoa.
So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot in the works too. So yeah.
And
So
I would recommend, I've actually worked with Chiara where I brought her in for some educational programs, and she's done her mindful wine tasting program. And the reaction has been so amazing. So if anybody is thinking about, using her program, I would highly, I'm happy to, you can call me and I'm happy to recommend it anytime. And in terms of just stepping back a second, in terms of the assessments, there are so many different ways. And if anyone wants to contact me, I'm happy to walk them through how they could just do something really simple. It's free. They can actually do their own. I have a workshop and a format that I follow with my clients. And so if you reach out at mastermindex.com, I'm happy to share that with you. But I know personally, I've also learned so much from those assessments. And we all don't know exactly what our strengths are and where we can go with it. And it is a great tool when you start to use it in conjunction with so many other pieces. So I think it's been great to hear that from you. I think those are really useful ways for women who are thinking about making the moves and transitioning and, and taking those steps forward to start to think about how to do that. So thank you so much for doing this. We are going to share this. It will be up on Instagram. We're also I'll post it on YouTube. It'll also be posted on my website, which is mastermind with a big EX at the end, .com. And I look forward to hearing more about your future. So thank you so much for being here today. And it's been great to hear your story and really exciting to watch where your journey is going to go. So
Karen,
thanks,
thank you
Chiara.
so much. It was an honor to be here. Thank you to everyone who joins or tunes in later. Yeah, thanks so much. I love talking to you, and this has just been great.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching Taking the Leap. And we have 2 more next week. So on Tuesday, we have Tammy Muller, who is a certified happiness trainer. And on Thursday, we have Dina Aronson, who is a midlife blogger and an impactor. So I hope you'll join us. They're all going to be on Instagram Live, and just you can follow my link and follow my all my posts, and please join us. So thanks again, and have a great day, everyone. Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.